Fantasy Football Report. As you know, I'm the commish, and we're reporting live from Natty's Finest Studios. You know, we took a week off last week here at Natty's Finest Studios. Got a lot to get into, a lot to cover, so let's get into it. No reason to beat around the bush. Let me start by bringing to your attention that we're finally at the midpoint week of this year's 2011 fantasy football season. We can actually see teams, that are in it to win it, and the teams that are just in it to donate this year. But I'll get into the standings and break that down a little bit later in the show. Let's get into last week's matchups, week 6. First off, we had Gully Gully versus EA Sports. EA Sports hasn't won a game this year. Gully Gully's riding a great winning streak right now. He continued that, winning 111-98. EA Sports, you failed to have anyone score over 20 points. You didn't score over 100 points, and you had Pierre Thomas putting up -1. It's not a good recipe. Bradshaw, Mendenhall put up big numbers for Gully Gully. Let's see if we can continue that next week. Franchise versus Dim Boys. The matchup of the preseason or draft night trades between Aaron Rodgers and Darren McFadden for Tony Romo and Adrian Peterson. A-Rod put up 41 on this night. Dim Boys failed to score 100 points. You already know who won. Franchise, 104-87. America's team versus, oh no, backups. America's team riding another winning streak, and they brought it in this game. Fred Jackson, who's been an absolute beast for these guys, putting up 34 points while the Bears defense carried them along too, putting up 26. Oh no, backups only scored 84. You had nobody over 20 points. Again, you're not going to win with those numbers. You just got mossed versus if you ate first, you're last. Now, you just got mossed, put up 119, had Marcus Colston and Frank Gore both putting up 20. While on the other hand, you had, if you ain't first, you're last, only putting up 98. They had a quarterback on a bye week. The quarterback is Philip Rivers, and they started Jason Campbell. Unfortunately, he got hurt and put up only 1 point for these guys. I think they might have had a chance to win if they would have had some good quarterback play. So, tee up to you just got mossed. You took the victory, 119-98. And, I spoke to a little birdie over this past week, and they told me that you just got mossed is not going to lose another game now that Arian Foster is back. And I'm just reporting to you what I heard. So, take it as you see it. Just letting you know. The Rook versus the Wildcats. The Rook actually pulled out a great victory in this one. It was a brutal matchup. But the Jets defense was his high score, putting up 31 points. He got lucky. He didn't put up 100. He only put up 88, but he was able to get out the victory. Wildcats, this is your second loss in a row. You scored less than 100. You scored less than 80. This is your second straight loss. As I said, you got to get it together. You start out the season, I think, 4-0 or 3-0. So we'll see how you do next week. But this is not a good 2 weeks for you guys. And the game of the week, my GOW, the whole effing show versus Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. But both teams had one loss at this point. The whole effing show had Ray Rice put up 21. Pimpin' Ain't Breezy, who better? Drew Brees putting up 22. This game ended in a tie, 97-97, if you can imagine. Both scored under 100, so they got lucky that both of them tied. But, as you know, Natty's Finest rules this year, as the commissioner, we decided on bench points will win any kind of tiebreaker. On the bench, for the whole effing show, they had Josh Freeman, and I believe he was a free agent, so he just picked him up, put up 36 points. His bench scored 43. While Pimpin' Ain't Breezy's bench had the Bengals defense on there putting up 28, and his total bench scored 29. So the victory goes to the whole effing show by that Josh Freeman bench play. Fortunately, that's the way it goes this year, and they got the W. Big ups to the whole effing show. We've completed 6 full weeks of this year's Natty's Finest fantasy football season. Where does your team stand in this, you ask? Well, let's take a look at the standings thus far. Okay, there you have it, the current standings through week 6. If your team was towards the top, you got to keep it up, keep pushing. However, if your team was towards the bottom, step it up, frankly. You got to do something. make a trade. With that said, we'll be right back. Weekly prizes, we'll get into that. We'll get into Week 7 matchups, my picks, and of course, my GOW right after a word from our sponsor.
Check Sam Blitz. Check that safe. Watch 26. It's on 2. Check out. Ready? Watch T.O. Red. In motion. Hey. Watch the ball. You were gonna block.
Man, I thought you were gonna.
And we're back. I'm the Commish. This is Week 7's Fantasy Football Report. Let's get into the $10 weekly prizes. Week 1, I'll just run down from Week 1 on up. Week 1, we had the highest points by a team that goes to the Wildcats. Week 2, highest points by a player. Gully won that. Week 3, highest points by a quarterback. The whole effing show took that one down. Week 4, highest points by a running back. Oh no, the backups. Week 5 was highest points by a wide receiver. The Rook took that down, Pierre Gerson. Week 6 was highest points by a tight end, Pimpin' Ain't Breezy, Jimmy Graham, who is questionable this week, might I add. Week 7, ladies and gentlemen, will be the highest points by any defense out there. A lot of defenses have been playing great this season, so see who gets it. $10 if you got the highest points. This brings me to the Week 7 matchups. First, we have Dem Boys versus the Rook. A few 2 and 4 teams looking to get one step closer to 500. This should be a very, very close game, ladies and gentlemen. Have a few bye weeks for each of, or a few bye week players for each of the teams. I think, and I'm not stretching here, but if I had to pick a team, I'd pick Dem Boys just by experience, edging out the Rook. Very close game, as I said. Next, we have EA Sports versus Franchise. A team that hasn't won a game and the team with the best record in the league. I'm going to call it, it's going to be closer than you might think right now. Good thing to know, Carson Palmer is starting for EA Sports this week, even though he has Ben Roethlisberger on his bench. Not sure if Ben is on a bye or not, but I know he does have him and failed to start him, I believe, 2 weeks ago when he put up big numbers. So that's interesting. Make sure you keep an eye on that. But if I was going to pick, if I was a bet man, I'd say Franchise is going to win barely. It's going to be a close game to watch. Should be interesting. If you're not first, you're last. Coming in at 3-3 versus Oh No Backups, coming in at 2-4. Another good point to make right here is Oh No Backups are starting the man, the myth, the legend, Tim Tebow. I got to call it. Backups are winning because they're starting Tim Tebow. He's a winner. Starting in Miami, I think they're throwing a Florida Gators memorial or reunion for him or something. So, we'll see how that plays out. It's Tim Tebow. The guy's done nothing but win.
So long, gay boys!
Can I hear that again?
So long, gay boys!
Okay. Pimpin' Ain't Breezy, 4-2 versus You Just Got Mossed. This should be a good game. In the end, I think You Just Got Mossed has too many players on bye weeks. Pimpin' Ain't Breezy wins big, substantially double digits. Wildcats versus the whole effing show. This is a good game. Close game. Will come down to Flacco and Ray Rice on Monday night for the whole effing show. I think they win with that sort of tag team double dip tandem. So we'll see how that plays out, but I would take the whole effing show in this one. Wildcats, 3-game losing streak. Hope it don't happen, but that's what I'm calling. And here it is. My game of the week, the GOW. America's team sitting at 4-2. Gully sitting at 4-2. Both teams are hot. Both teams have players on bye weeks. America's team, unfortunately, has more critical players on bye weeks. Tom Brady's on a bye. I think Fred Jackson's on a bye, who, like I said, has been a beast for him this year. Gully wins just out of that notion. Keep the streak going, guys. There you have it. Week 7 should be a good, interesting week, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the power rankings brought to you by no other than Natty's Finest Studios. Power Rankings, brought to you by the Natty's Finest Studios. 1. Franchise. 2. Pimpin' Ain't Breezy. 3. America's Team. 4. The Whole Effin' Show. 5. The Wildcats. 6. Gully Gully. 7. If you're not first, you're last. 8. You just got mossed. 9. Oh no, backups. 10. Dem boys. 11. The Rook. And 12. EA Sports. Okay, power rankings are in. I think we have time for a quick phone call. Go ahead, caller. You're on the line with the commish. Hey, commish, love the show. Just wanted to call, touch upon the power rankings. I see you do them from week to week, and I'd actually like to know how you handle those, how you actually determine the power rankings. Thanks a lot, commish. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, appreciate the call. I always like to hear what my fans and the audience is thinking. So the question was, how do the power rankings work? There's sometimes teams that have worse records but are higher in the power rankings. There's 3 key factors that go into the Natty's Finest power rankings. And frankly, this is fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, wins matter, but points probably matter more than wins. But the 3 factors that I would like to get into are record, obviously. The win streak is a big one. Who's hot now? That goes into the power rankings. And overall points forced. As you saw on the standings, and that showed the total points forced for a team. So that has a lot going into the power rankings. And, that's how we do it here at Natty's Finest Studios. Okay, that was the Week 7 Fantasy Football Report. As you know, I'm the commish. This is Natty's Finest Studios.